Sometimes it's nice to visit the classics in gaming, the titles that may have faded from popular memory but still hold a special place in your heart for the time that you had with them. In my case, it's now obscure titles for the PC like Megarace, Halloween Harry, Under a Killing Moon, and Airwolf that all bring back memories of my favourite years in gaming. And recently, I happened across a game that seems to have amalgamated a lot of the spirit of those titles, and even meshes a few of those genres together. Released on the 2nd of April 2020 by Pug Fugly Games, Destructivator 2 is a platformer shooter that is unrelentingly 90s throwback in execution, and is available on Steam right now for £4.79. Action, explosions, gunfire, more explosions, hordes of evil dudes and mega bosses versus a solo hero bent on saving the world, and lastly, explosions! If you have a hankering for the days of shoot first, shoot more, and if you have bullets left and you've not shot enough, then this game is right up your alley. But the question is, when you do pull the pin of this grenade of a game, does it blow you away? Or does it fizzle out worse than a Steven Segal straight-to-release DVD? Well, let's find out. This is my review of Destructivator 2. The game synopsis reads, a platform shooter that brings 90s gaming smashing into your face! Blast and insta-melee your way through hordes of alien soldiers, robots, bosses and loads more. Fight on foot, in a fighter or in a bomber. Take on bosses and ensure that the alien menace won't threaten Earth ever again. Take on the role of a tiny little super soldier decked out in lime green and blast and insta-melee your way to victory. Unapologetically old school, forget the last 30 years ever happened, and take on vast enemies of soldiers, robots, spaceships, cruel traps and mini-bosses and bosses on foot and in vehicles with sharp, colourful graphics, catchy tunes and 54 levels. There's lots of fun to be had here. Well, aside from being poorly worded, the developer is not wrong. This game is all about getting you into the game, arming you with all you need, airdropping you into combat as quickly as it can, and then immersing you in the game for as long as possible. And I'm pleased to say, it does this exceptionally well. To do this, it keeps its premise and story simple and to the point in order to ensure maximum engagement with the gameplay without stopping for pesky things like story, character or context. I mean, honestly, who really cares about them? But for those that do, the year is 2145 and you play as the titular Destructivator, a one-man cyborg army tasked with taking revenge on the evil Zalagar and his minions on their home planet of Zirkle after they laid waste to Earth. A scenario where rebuilding Earth is secondary to sending a cybernetic killing machine to usher an onslaught of wrathy vengeance to our enemies? Just hearing that premise makes me want to go lift all the weights and eat all the red meat, bones and all. Okay, all kidding aside, the story and plot doesn't drive this game, that's for sure. What does is the action. And my word, there's a lot of it. As mentioned, there are 54 levels spread across 6 missions or worlds with multiple difficulty levels to contend with, and on top of that, there are bosses to beat on the 8th stage of each mission. You'll be using a trusty machine gun with infinite ammo, a combat jet, and a bomber to rain destruction and carnage on the hordes of enemies that each level has to offer. And let's not muck around, the gameplay is simply awesome. Fast, impactful, forgiving in some respects, but downright brutal in others. As mentioned, your main method of attack is mashing that fire button until everything in your path is gone. Firing while in the air slows your falls, and your aim is limited by the fact that you can only fire in 5 directions, making aiming tricky against foes on higher platforms or floating enemies. However, you can also charge attack smaller enemies at close range, duck out of the line of fire of some enemies, and platform faster than most projectiles can travel, meaning that the name of the game is pace and timing as well as brute force. Oh, sure, you can blast your way through the game, guns blazing if that's your jam, but you do have a health bar and 3 lives to kind of manage through the course of a level, and losing health or lives does result in a lower star rating upon completion of a level. 5 stars in total, with a collectible, or rather destructible, spy bot to locate and destroy in order to complete the game fully. What I adore about this game is just how responsive, dynamic and tactile the game feels. Everything is so sharp, and the mix of platforming, diversity of enemies, traps and dangers all comes together to create levels that each feel unique and each place a different emphasis on the type of gameplay you need to master. On some levels, there's hordes of cannon fodder, but they can overwhelm you if you don't use your platforming to your advantage. Other levels, you are hopping into battle planes and side-scroll shooting your way through flying foes and turrets, and some levels favour timing and traversal over simply running and gunning. The game does everything it can to help you formulate plans of attack and caters to every skill level, given you have multiple hits you can take, health boosts you can obtain throughout the level, as well as location checkpoints to make completing the level a bit less arduous if you lose all 3 of your lives en route. And trust me, you'll lose a bunch of them, because while this game does give you plenty of tools to win, it's not about to let you walk through unscathed. I really like the layout of the levels though. Each one feels different to play, and the difficulty of each isn't increased by arbitrarily adding more enemies or traps. It does this by throwing something new at you each level. A new enemy type like a rocket robot guy, or a floating battle-tested volleyball. A different maze section that's shaped like a skyscraper, for instance. New traps, such as the factory that makes Kung Lao's hats, each designed to prompt you to evolve and improve as the game progresses. I love the combat in this game, I love the platforming, and I loved each of the levels. Except for the bosses. These felt a bit meh. Not bad, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, they all had the feeling of being bullet sponges that can decide to kill you, and the battles devolved into just trying to get 35% of its health gone each time I lost a life so I could survive the encounter. But even so, like our green-clad hero, each time I beat a level or boss, I did a little dance. A really nice little touch, by the way. Oh, and that's another thing. Destructivator 2 has a great sense of character, fun, and a strong identity, and that's in large part due to its design and the little things. The game itself looks and sounds incredible. Bright, stark, contrasting colours, a thick, bassy, techno-pounding musical soundtrack, bombastic and electric sound design, and a very dramatic and late 80s post-apocalyptic presentation. Each mission set has its own theme in both look and sound, and the game does a great job at promoting this as a world full of new things to see and do in each set of missions. Little touches, like I said, such as messages from the dev team wishing you luck and congratulating you upon completing a mission. The explosions having a flurry of colour and sparks. The gun that you use being simplistic, sure, but having such an impactful thud upon firing. I really appreciate just how quick and easy it is to navigate around the menus, getting in and out of games, finding the options, tweaking everything to suit you, and helping to give the game a really strong sense of getting into the game and having some fun. I'm also really pleased to report that there are no bugs or glitches to speak of. The game ran smoothly upon loading, and I never encountered anything even approaching a game break, or even so much as a hollowed out enemy that I couldn't kill or getting stuck on a platforming section. The game is solid as hell. But more than that, Destructivator 2 is fucking brilliant. Pug Fugly Games have really smashed it here. A fun premise, a well-crafted, visually striking world, endlessly fun gameplay, and a solid design with tons of content at a stupid low price of £4.79. This game is a must own if you're a fan of those early 90s platformer shooters like me. And if you're after something of a retro vibe with excellent production, then you need to get your hands on this game. I highly recommend it, because any game that says, why bother with a melee button when you can just insta-smash your enemies and then keep shooting, is a good game in my book. Well, thank you very much for watching this especially explosive edition of the Halcyon Show. I've been your hellacious host, Lorne Risley. Please light the fuse on that like button, shatter that share button, and smash that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more ravacious, ravenous reviews and vivacious and vicious videos in the future, and as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next episode.